rise. The court is now in session.
First up, we take you inside the 6th Judicial Court in Pasco County, Florida. The defendant is Dale Massett, the former mayor of Port Richey, Florida. He's pled guilty to aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer with a firearm, weapons charges, and resisting arrest. 2 years earlier, Massett was at home with his girlfriend when a SWAT unit arrived to execute a warrant for practicing medicine without a license. The charges coming at the end of a 4-month investigation.
Sheriff's office, search warrant, come to the door!
The 70-year-old former mayor is also a former doctor, having had his license revoked back in 1992. Massett was also known to own several guns, so the officers were on high alert.
Sheriff's office, search warrant, come to the door!
After they identified themselves multiple times, there was still no sign of Massett. So the officers decided it was time to go in.
Sheriff's office, search warrant! Sheriff's office, search warrant, come to the door! Sheriff's office, search warrant, come to the door! Sheriff's office!
Massett fired 2 shots at the officers, who quickly responded. After a few minutes, officers finally located Massett.
Dale, put that gun down. Put the gun down and come down the stairs.
Walk toward me, guys. Come on, nice and easy. Take the light off him for a second. All right, walk toward my voice, guys. I'm right here.
Over here. Right here.
Walk toward me. Walk toward me. Take your time, but walk toward me.
Massett and his girlfriend surrendered and were taken into custody.
You have a seat right here on the back of the bus. Sit down.
Hurting me, guys.
Sit down.
Why don't you knock on the door and let us know what's happening?
Massett was initially charged with 5 counts of attempted homicide and, if found guilty, could have spent the rest of his life in prison. His attorney tried to have the case dismissed, claiming Massett was standing his ground when the police arrived. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit Florida, many court cases were delayed. So the state offered Massett a deal: plead guilty to lesser charges and serve 3 years in prison plus 10 years probation. Massett accepted the deal, but at his sentencing before Judge Mary Hansel, a number of officers, including Sergeant Billy Lindsay, spoke out about the terrifying events of that night.
I started suffering from anxiety and stress caused by it. To have to go home and tell my family after 20 years in law enforcement that I almost died because a politician decided that it was more important to shoot the first cop that came to arrest him than to lawfully surrender.
Sergeant Lindsay also expressed his feelings about the plea deal that was offered by the state.
The fact that we're here entertaining a plea deal in a case where the defendant is accused of intentionally shooting a firearm at law enforcement officers during the execution of a search warrant is disgusting. Mr. Mossad has clearly exploited the worst flaw in the criminal justice system, and that's that money and political influence buys you freedom if you're rich. He is a true psychopath that lacks guilt, remorse, empathy. He's dishonest, he's a narcissist, and he has no conscience.
And Sergeant Lindsay isn't the only one who believes Massett received a cushy deal. Judge Hansel offers a few words of her own.
For the record, I just want to make sure that it's clear that this was a plea agreement and the court had nothing to do with this, because if I did, I have to agree with the sergeant that Mr. Massett is getting quite a deal.
Massett was sentenced to 3 years in prison with credit for 2 years' time served while awaiting trial, plus 10 years probation. As far as the original charge of practicing medicine without a license, as part of the plea deal, he received a 3-year sentence, which will run concurrently with the assault sentence. Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam. Subscribe to A&E to never miss a new video and catch full episodes on aetv.com.